Next, I'm going to invite Venugopal Damerla, who's an attending physician at the Denver VA, which is the Veteran Arms Medical Center in Colorado. He holds board certifications in internal medicine, integrative medicine, and he's trained in oncology. Graduated from the Gandhi Medical College in Hyderabad, and then trained at UNC, Chapel Hill in the State University of New York, Brooklyn, and Tulane University. He's the author of several publications on oncology, and currently he's the director of the Prabhupada Research Institute for Integrative Medicine, which is a non-profit science foundation which integrates ancient and modern systems of medicine. And his topic today is the NeuroCardiac effects of audible Hare Krishna mantra meditation during short-term practice.
It's an honor for me to be here among all of you, this august audience. And I'm not a very seasoned speaker, but I'll try my best. Yeah. So basically, this particular study, it should be on the pamphlets. It's meditation, but actually, to be more precise, it's neurocardiac effects of audible mantra repetition, I would like to be more precise. So, next slide, please. Oh. Okay. So today, medicine is undergoing a big quantum leap, you can say. Today we know there is a lot of talk about the role of spirituality in healing and maintenance of wellness. So this is actually an article which appeared in Mayo Clinic Proceedings in 2001. 90% of people today believe in a higher being. 94% regard their spiritual and physical health as equally important. And 96% of family practice physicians believe that spiritual well-being is a factor in health. The last fact is that people with spiritual path live at least 4 years longer than people who do not. So why? Maybe I will be able to shine some light. Why I did this study is, I just want to give you a little background, is so while my own experiences for the over 28 years, I've been practicing mantra meditation myself, and before that I was a silent contemplative meditation practitioner for many years. And I studied books of different great personalities, and I came across in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is describing japa yoga, the audible repetition of divine names, as the first rung of the ladder of all yogic systems. It's not only the first rung of all yogic systems, but also the continuous recitations of the name of a higher being actually form an undercurrent for all other yogic systems. And it is distinct. This japa yoga is distinct from other forms of meditation in that it is not a sitting practice where you close your eyes and for an hour. But actually, it can be included in your routine. One is performing chores, one can be audibly vibrating these sounds, which are mentioned in the most ancient books of knowledge, the Vedic literatures. So, the question which came to me as a clinician was, if it works purely on a metaphysical level, how is that there are so many studies being published on effects of meditation on depression? That was actually very intriguing for me, and that's why I started my search. And despite its commonplace in India, I grew up in India, and the underlying mechanisms of monotone repetition of specific sounds mentioned in the Vedic literatures have not been studied. So mantra is integral part of Vedic literatures. and mananat trayate iti mantraha, meaning that which delivers the mind upon repeated utterance. Mantra in the Vedic literatures, it can be read, chanted, or meditated upon, and each method yields specific results. Vedic literatures are very specific about each sound and how you chant it. And especially the silent meditation has been extensively published, but the monotone audible repetition has not been published. So to address these, I started studying a vast body of alternative medical literature which quantify corresponding somatic physiological parameters associated with metaphysical conscious experience, which itself cannot be measured. The Vedic literatures they perceive the human system as a continuous matrix of 4 systems. The consciousness matrix, you have the psychological matrix, then you have the physiological matrix, and the structural matrix. And each of them are interconnected and intra-connected. And the different elements, they have subtypes in these 4 domains, and all of them are networked. So, basically, is it purely the effects of mantra chanting? Is it purely metaphysical, or actually it's squarely in the realm of biophysics, physics of the body? Is something what I was very curious to study. So, are there any quantifiable physiological effects of vibrating a mantra? This is Srila Prabhupada, actually, who is a great inspiration for me. And he said that spiritual wellness cannot be divorced from physical, emotional, and mental equilibrium. And ultimately, as a physician, my basic duty is to keep people away from becoming chronically ill. The prevention is the first duty of a physician. And today's medical model it's actually I call post-material science integrative model to protect well-being of the healthy. Actually, it has strong semblance to the Vedic system of medicine. It also has 4 different realms: the biological realm, the social realm, the spiritual realm, and the psychological realm, pretty much. So all domains of human system, again, as I pointed out, are interdependent and connected. State of optimal health is achieved when there is equilibrium in all these domains. And lastly, the spiritual wellness is included in the World Health Organization definition of optimal health. Many people don't give this much importance, but actually spiritual wellness is counted. So modern system of medicine actually has drastically transformed despite a mechanistic model of the human body, which we study in medical school. And I just tried to get, so I was actually curious when I saw this study of Dr. David Wolf, and because I was looking at what are the most common diseases which were actually treated by meditative practices are psychological diseases. So I came across Dr. Wolf's study, and talk a little bit of this. Dr. Wolf demonstrated a statistically significant reduction in depression scale in subjects who chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra for 30 minutes a day for 4 weeks, and the effect persisted even after cessation of the practice. If you just see, is there a laser pointer here? Okay. So basically this study lasted 8 weeks, and the first, they divided the 93 participants into 3 separate arms, and all of them underwent a standardized training curriculum, and they were just trained in the audible repetition of the mantra. And they did depression questionnaires at weeks, on day 0, on day 30, and day 60. We saw that the Mahamantra arm, the depression scales drastically dropped to a very statistically significant degree, and the p-value was less than 0.01. And at this 4-week point, they stopped the practice. They again conducted a survey on week number 8. And they saw that the depression scale didn't go back to the original, but it actually came, it went up a little bit, but it didn't go back. And this was very striking because medications are not like that. If a depressed person actually stops taking medication, probably there's a risk of suicide even. But this does not happen in this spiritually based intervention. And in the case of, they also gave the other group an alternate Sanskrit sound without spiritual connection. And they also chanted for 30 minutes. And on day 0, they actually measured the depression scale. And on day 30, it went down, but it was not statistically significant. And when they stopped at day 30 and they again checked it on day 60, actually the depression scale went back up to the baseline. And people who did nothing, the control arm who did nothing, it was no effect on the depression scale at all. So, so we know that depression is connected with many medical illnesses, and this was what stimulated my interest. They followed, in one study, they followed over 4,500 men, and they were more than 65 years of age. And they saw that every increase of 5 points in the depression scale actually increased the heart attack risk by 15%. And they were, people who had depression and coronary artery disease had 60% higher death rate. So this was the study of Dr. Wolf on stress, and they observed similar patterns in stress. Even after they actually stopped chanting, the stress level did not go back in the Mahamantra arm. And I'm not going to get too much into this because we're running out of time. So, so basically, is the question about stress is all kinds of stress bad for us? Basically, is it detrimental? But actually, the fact is only chronic stress is detrimental, because in the wild, zebras don't get ulcers. They're actually they're at imminent danger at every point of time. They can be hunted. They're predators, but they have mechanisms to actually not let the stress linger on, and that's actually But we are in the most technologically advanced civilization that we end up getting all chronic diseases. We are basically masters of stress mismanagement. So 24 hours are not enough, and there's always a sense of urgency. Like right now, I'm in a sense of urgency. So what happens is that you lose a loss of discrimination, and you make bad choices, and you make mistakes and errors. So we know that most of chronic stress is responsible for inflammation, and inflammation is the underlying principle for many diseases, including coronary artery disease, dementia, cancer, diabetes, and the list goes on. So this is, what are some implications of stress? This is Elizabeth Blackburn. She won the Nobel Prize for inventing telomerase in 1984. And she found that babies who were born to pregnant mothers when they were very highly stressed, later on in their life, they had a higher risk. They had a higher risk of cancer and cancer mortality, because telomerase was lacking, and there was a loss of genetic information. So if we decrease stress by Mahamantra, probably we can affect incidence of cancer. So we tested the heart rate variability. So what is heart rate variability? It is a physiological beat-to-beat variation in the time interval between heartbeats, and it is the balance of the two systems, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And today we know that heart rate variability has many applications in clinical practice. So people who have a better HRV have a lower incidence of heart attack. They have better outcomes with many conditions like depression, diabetes. And also people who have established cardiac failure, if they actually increase the HRV, they had better outcomes and better healing of the heart. So basically, these are so what are some visual representation of emotions? We actually know when your heart rhythms are haphazard, associated with frustration, anxiety, worry, irritation, negative emotions, they are associated with impaired brain function. And on the other hand, the people who have a more regular waves of heart rhythm, they actually have better brain function. They're able to function better. They're able to have better functional memory, make good decisions when it comes to self-care. So this is the study we published, and so the basic focus of the study was, does trained attention practice of audible chanting meditation affect vagal tone as measured by HRV, heart rate variability, which is an indicator of self-regulatory strength and chronic illness. So we use the Hare Krishna mantra because Dr. Wolf used the same, and I'm going to so this is the experimental design. So we had two arms, and the experimental arm vibrated the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra for 30 minutes for a period of 6 weeks, and the placebo arm chanted a placebo sound which did not have spiritual connection for 30 minutes, and at 4-week point they switched to the Maha Mantra. So they were randomly selected, I don't have time to go into these slides. I wish I had more time. I'm going to run through these. So we saw that people who chanted the Hare Krishna mantra, these numbers are logarithmic values of frequencies. And we saw that the experimental group had statistically significant results. And when the placebo group at 4 week, they switched to the Maha Mantra, they had an increase in HRV. So basically I want to stop here because I don't have the, but tomorrow I'll be having a 30-minute discussion, so if you're welcome to come to that. Thanks.